Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns, and this time we're talking about the Astra Police revolver. These were manufactured from 1974 until sometime in the mid-80s, and they came standard with a 3-inch barrel. It's a heavy frame revolver and was offered in .357 Magnum, .38 Special, and 9mm, although the 9mm cylinders are pretty much unobtainium these days. This one was surplused from the Policia Municipal Valencia, or Municipal Police of Valencia, and these are all .38 caliber. You do occasionally see a .357, but they're pretty rare, and they're not from the Municipal Police. It's quite stout in size. It's between an L and a N frame, and well suited to .357 Magnum. The barrels were standard at 3 inches, the only length they were made, and their principal fame among gun boffins is that they were also marketed by Fabrique Nationale as the Barracuda, and are in fact the only revolver ever offered by Fabrique Nationale. They were the same gun, marked differently of course, and they had a hooked trigger guard, which is a fairly dubious feature in a semi-auto and is kind of bone stupid on a revolver because of course it puts your finger right where you'll be hit by the blast from the cylinder gap. So that was a pretty questionable decision. The example I got was from a local gun shop. I paid $220 for it. These were imported, mostly fitted with a Hogue monogrip, and I use the term fitted advisedly because they don't fit that well. And sometimes they came with the original, very battered, very old wooden grips, either instead of or in addition to the Hogue monogrip. And the gun has a few party tricks, which we'll talk about in the tabletop. So let's get to that. Okay, first things first, as always, unload and show clear, which operates very similar to a Smith & Wesson on this, with the button pushed forward here. Pop the cylinder out, no cartridges in the holes, so we're clear. Now, the previous owner rather crudely bobbed the hammer and tried to turn it into a round butt to fit a Smith & Wesson K-frame Packmare grip he had, which he secured by drilling another hole and running a bolt through it. So it was as ugly as it was uncomfortable and non-functional. But those are the major modifications done to the gun, and they were not done by me. Now, I mentioned party tricks. Now, these are often said to be a Smith & Wesson clone. They are not. Mechanically, they're quite different from either Smith & Wesson's or Colt's. And as I said, this one has a few party tricks, so let's have a look at one of those right now. There's this mysterious screw right here, and it's not just a screw, it's a release, which allows you to release the cylinder and crane. And this is because these guns were available in .38, .357 Magnum, or 9mm. The ones from Policia Municipal Valencia are .38 Special and are labeled as such. Unlike most service revolvers at times, these have a 3-inch rather than a 4-inch barrel. And this is only one of several tricks these guns have. And the other one requires screwdriver porn. So let's take the grips off. And you can see the atrocities wrought on this by its previous owner, as well as some very interesting stuff. Okay, so you can see where the previous owner tried to turn it into a round butt, and I changed it to make it fit a different grip than this one. But this thing here is one of those aforementioned party tricks. What this is a ring with different depths holes in it to receive the guide rod. And you can pop this out, all that wood dust in there, and then you can rotate it to 4 different positions depending on how heavy you want the trigger. So if you want the trigger, if you're having light primer strikes, you can rotate to make the trigger harder, or If you're not, you can rotate it to be as light as you like. And there we go. Let's get this back together so we can continue. I have it at the lightest setting, and at the lightest setting, the trigger pull is really quite good. I would guess maybe 8 or 9 pounds. The single action notch has not been disabled on this, so if you're bold, you can thumb cock it after you start to pull the trigger. The trigger pull in single action is really, really good. I mean, it just really, there's a little over travel, but that is just as light and crisp a break as you could want. And the trigger pull really is on par with a lot of better quality revolvers. Let's put the grips back on. We're not taking it apart any further than that. There are some mechanical differences from other guns on the inside. As I say, they didn't just copy Smith & Wesson. And this is a pretty hefty gun. And after talking to a fellow online who worked at Astra when these were being produced, I did something moderately stupid. You can see this is labeled 38 Special. Astra 38 Special. This one is no longer a 38 Special because, according to the gentleman I talked to, the heat treats and material specification for all 3 cylinders was identical. The only difference was how they cut the cylinder for different cartridges. If it was a 357, they reamed it for 357. If it was a 9mm, they turned the back down to accommodate star clips of 6 rounds. And of course, the 38 Specials are bored for 38 Special. So I decided to experiment and got a 357 Magnum reamer and re-reamed the chambers for 357 Magnum and then tested it. And it has no issues with 357 Magnum. It hasn't caused any problems whatsoever. So I suspect that my internet pal was correct. One thing I did do was I slotted the front sight and put in some colored nail polish to make the sight more obvious. Because before, it was just a black serrated ramp, and while that's mostly fine, I like orange. As you can see, it has a fixed trough-style rear sight, a minor rib on the barrel, and a full shroud at the bottom, which Smith & Wesson fashion does lock the ejector rod at the front. And all in all, the fit and finish is very good. Certainly comparable to what we were seeing from Smith & Wesson and Colt at the time. And the trigger pull is superb. Mechanically, it's never had an issue as long as I've had it. And shooting 357 Magnum loads from it is quite reasonable. I'm told the Policia Municipal Valencia used Supervel plus P 38 Special ammunition in them. The 357 Magnum apparently was felt to be too aggressive. And you can see the nice Astra markings here. PMV for Policia Municipal Valencia, and of course the serial number. And the other side is unmarked except for, right here. We've already talked about that. So these guns are quite a bargain were quite a bargain at $259 because there is really nothing to want for quality in them. They are worn from holster wear because these were used by the police for about 20 years before they surplused them. And all in all, it's a very nice, very solid revolver. So if you have a chance to pick one up, think seriously about it. I bought my Astra Police not because it was an affordable, good quality, fairly random 38 Special, but with the intention to turn it into a 41 Special, which is a whole nother thing. But I liked it so well as a 38, I decided not to. And honestly, makes a whole lot more sense as a 357 Magnum than it did as a 38, because this is quite a stout revolver and frame. And it's a gun that gave good service for a couple decades with the Spanish police, and now we get them cheap. What's not to like? So you do occasionally see cylinders in 357 Magnum come up on Gunbroker and other places online. The 9mm cylinders seem to be pretty much unobtainium, either for the Barracuda or the police. So you're liable to pay a premium for those. There's a fellow who has one up on Gunbroker right now with a couple cylinders, and he wants $1,200 for it. It's been there for a really long time, and it's likely to stay there at that price. But it's his gun. He can price it however he wants. Anyway, it's a great gun. I quite enjoy shooting it. It's very accurate. And with that excellent double action trigger pull, I don't miss not having single action, or at least not having a hammer to make it safe to use single action. So, this is a winner in my book. I really like them. I enjoy shooting it. And just one of those times when a surplus deal really worked out. So, before I sign off, I'm going to mention again, it really helps if you hit like, subscribe, and maybe comment on these videos, because that helps me with YouTube's algorithms, and that gets more people to see these, and more people seeing them is all to the good. So, please remember to hit like and subscribe, and if you feel moved to, make a comment. Also, I have a day job, but I am getting some support on Patreon, for which I'm very grateful. It's helped by a lot of ammo and odds and ends of firearms paraphernalia. But yeah, this channel is not monetized, not likely to get monetized. So if you want to click the link in the description to support me on Patreon, I'll be very, very grateful. So anyway, after that commercial announcement, stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.